Samvido Bhavanti Hritkana Rasana Kata Taj Josanada Suraparva Vartmani Shradha Ratir Bhaktir Anukrishati Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasayana Kata Jajosanada Dasvila Parva Vartmani Shradha Ratir Bhaktir Anukrishati Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido
Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasayana Tajoshanara Shvapavarga Vartmani Shradharatir Bhakti Anukramishati
Satam Prasangam Amavirya Samvido
Satam Prasangam Mamavirya Samvido
Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasayana Kata
Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasayana Kata
Taj Joshanara Shvapavarga Vartmani
Tajoshanara Shvapavarga Vartmani
Shradharatir Bhakti Anukramishati
Shradharatir Bhakti Anukramishati
Satam Prasangam Mamavirya Samvido Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasayana Kataha Tajjo Shanad Ashvapavarga Vartmani Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramishati
Satam Prasangam Mamavirya Samvido Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasayana Kata Taj Joshanara Shvapavarga Vartmani Shradharatir Bhaktir Anukramishati Satam Prasangam Mamavirya Samvido
Mama Virya Samvido
Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasayana Kata
Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasayana Kata
Tajoshanada Shvapavarga Vartmani
Jajosanada Svivapavarga Vartmani
Shradharatir Bhakti Anukramishati
Shradha Ratir Bhaktir Nukrishiti
Satam Prasangan Mama Virya Samvido
Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido
Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasayana Kata
Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasana Kata
Tajdoshanarashvapavarga Vartmani
Tajjosanada Svivapavarga Vartmani
Shadharatir Bhaktir Anukramishati
Shradha Ratir Bhaktir Anukrishmati
Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido
Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido
Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasayana Kataha
Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasayana Kata
Tajjoshana Svapavarga Vartamani
Jajosanada Svivapavarga Vartmani
Shraddharatir Bhaktir Anukramishati
Shradha Ratir Bhaktir Anukrishati
Satam prasangan mama virya samvido.
Satam prasangam mama virya samvido.
Bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kata.
Bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kata.
Tajjoshana Shvapavarga Vartmani.
Jajjosanada srivaparva vartmani.
Shadharatir Bhaktiranukramishati.
Shradha ratir bhaktir anukashvishati.
Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido.
Satam prasangam mama virya samvido.
Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasayana Kata.
Bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kata.
Tajjoshana Shvapavarga Vartmani.
Jajjosanada srivaparva vartmani.
Shadharatir Bhaktiranukramishati.
Shradha ratir bhaktir anukashmishati.
Satam prasangan mama virya samvido.
Satam prasangan mama virya samvido.
Bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kata.
Bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kata.
Tajjoshana dashvapavarga vartmani.
Jajjosanada srivaparva vartmani.
Shraddharatir bhaktiranukramishati.
Shradha ratir bhaktir anukramishati.
Satam prasangan mama virya samvido.
Satam prasangam mama virya samvido.
Bhavanti ret karna rasayana kata.
Bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kata.
Tachosanada sva apavarka vartmani.
Jajjosanada srivaparva vartmani.
Shraddharatir bhaktir anukramishati.
Shradha ratir bhaktir anukramishati.
Online.
Online channels.
Satam prasangan mama virya samvido.
मम वीर्यसंविदो
Bhavanti hritkarna rasayana katha.
भवन्ति हृत्कार्णरसायना कृता
Tajjoshanat ashva apavarga vartmani.
तर्शोषणाराशवर्णवर्णनि
Shraddharatir bhaktir anukramishati.
सद्भारतिर्भाग्यनुगमिष्यति
Is that it? Okay, we'll check word by word. Satam of pure devotees. Prasangat through the association. Mama, my. Virya, wonderful activities. Samvida, by discussion of. Bhavanti, become. Hrit, to the heart. Karna, to the ear. Rasa anana, pleasing. Kata, the stories. Tat, of that. Jasanat, by cultivation. Asu, quickly. Apavarga, of liberation. Vartani, on the path. Shraddha, firm faith. Rati, attraction. Bhakti, devotion. Anukramishati, will follow in order. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. The process of advancing in Krishna consciousness and devotional service is described here. The first point is that one must seek the association of persons who are Krishna conscious and who engage in devotional service. Without such association, one cannot make any advancement. Simply by theoretical knowledge or study, one cannot make any appreciable advancement. One must give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of devotees. Because without the association of devotees, one cannot understand the activities of the Lord. Generally, people are convinced of the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Because they do not associate with devotees, they cannot understand that the absolute truth can be a person and have personal activities. This is a very difficult subject matter, and unless one has personal understanding of the absolute truth, there is no meaning to devotion. Service or devotion cannot be offered to anything impersonal. Service must be offered to a person. Non-devotees cannot appreciate Krishna consciousness by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literature wherein the activities of the Lord are described. They think that these activities are fictional, manufactured stories, because spiritual life is not explained to them in the proper mood. To understand the personal activities of the Lord, one has to seek the association of devotees. And by such association, when one contemplates and tries to understand the transcendental activities of the Lord, the path to liberation is open. He is freed. One who has firm faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes fixed, and his attraction for association with the Lord and the devotees increases. Association with devotees means association with the Lord. The devotee who makes this association develops the consciousness for rendering service to the Lord, and then being situated in the transcendental position of devotional service, he gradually becomes perfect. So there's a pretty good outline there of devotional service and the activities of devotional service. So yeah, there's quite a few things. In the class I was listening to, I think it was Bhakti Goswami. He said, he asked everyone, okay, what's liberation, right? So everybody is saying different things, like devotional service. And so by engaging in devotional service and associating with devotees and hearing about topics of Krishna, one is placed on the path of liberation, right? So he said, so what is liberation, right? They're talking about like nirvana, but actually, Prabhupada said nirvana actually really means cessation of material activities, right? So cessation of material activities and engagement in transcendental spiritual activities. Right, so from like day one is liberated. So yeah, he was talking about he was Bhakti Shah and he got shaved up, right? He gave him a bunch of sweet balls, right? And then he was like chanting a Hare Krishna mantra, and then after sometimes going, what am I doing in a Hare Krishna movement? When he was shaved up, he was looking in the mirror going, oh my God, my hair's vanishing. It's like, okay, well, I can do this. Right? So that's the whole process. As Prabhupada was talking about, they're talking about a whole bunch of different things. Like in this verse here, apavarga. You got that apavarga. We were listening to this verse. If you break apavarga up, you got apava, right? You got these syllables, apava. Basically, what is the translation of that? Apavarga? Yeah, on the path of Vartmani, of liberation, apava. Okay, quickly becomes liberated. So there was, because what is that? Ba, pa, va, right? The syllables, foaming at the mouth, working hard. What was it? It was like these material miseries, material conditions. Ba, pa, fa, right? Remember those verbs? And ma, right. So it was like foaming at the mouth, working very hard, but material illusion, or what were all the aspects on that? You try to remember. Oh, fear. What was fearful? Sweat. Ma was what? Mityu. Is that birth and death? Oh, birth and death. So it's suffering, birth and death. Mityu. Ma is Mityu, so it's death. Right, birth. So one becomes fearful of death. This is the one that's a one thing Prabhupada was talking about a lot. The verses I've been listening to a lot. Where Prabhupada was saying, there's a Bhagavad Gita verse. Let's see if I can remember I think it was like from boyhood to youth to old age. Because I was remembering the second line, Yovanam, tomorrow. How does the verse start? Dehi nams, Dehi nosmin yadai dehi. Yeah, so it wasn't that verse. But it was like Prasad Atma, Akonchati, Nakanchati, right? And then Prabhupada says right after that, he says, Aham Brahmasmi. Then he says, Ato Brahma Gyanasa, right? So we're not these material bodies. Let's see. So we're spiritual soul, part and parcel of Krishna, as Jivatma, 1/10,000th part, the upper portion of the tip of the hair, right? Oh yeah. So Rishi was talking about this. He was talking about it to a scientist, and he told this person, he was a scientist. He's a professor at one of these college universities local, and he crunched the numbers really quick because I'm really impressed that your ancient text actually details the size and the dimension of the spiritual soul as being atomic in size, about the size of an atom, right? So so that's exactly what we're saying there. So there's an atomic fragmental portion. Prabhupada was talking about that there's three energies: internal energy, marginal energy, and external energy. So the living entity, because it's marginal energy, can come under the control of either the material energy or the spiritual energy. But the actual real natural constitutional position is beyond the control of the internal energy. Under the control of the external energy, one is under the control of the three modes of material nature within the time factor, being influenced by a hankar, identifying with the material body, hovering on a mental platform in association with his intelligence, again, accepting the very same thing the mind already rejected under other circumstances, with the desire to enjoy, with the idea of sense gratification of the subtle sense objects within the mind, to endeavor hard, to work hard just simply for sense gratification without any actual real knowledge of the self, or that they actually even know or believe that they're engaging in sinful activities and that they can go to hell for these things. They kind of just scoff on that and just say, oh, I don't believe that. Right? But your identification is completely riveted to your body, that you don't even know that it's there, that you would think that anybody would be insane if they didn't believe you, who you say you are. but it's a external circumstance of the material body, from the material body that the person acquires the material body from the mother and the father. So there's some descriptions on it, and they resemble the combination of the mother and the father. See, so there's some other words on there too. The Satam, of my pure devotees, yeah, Satam Yuktanam, Rajati Purvakam, Jami. Am I mixing up a couple of verses up? Satam, Tesham Sata Yuktanam, Rajatam Pretty Purvakam, Dami, Buddhi Yogam. Tesham Sata Yuktanam. Right, am I saying that verse right? Right, Tesham Sata, that's, what is it? Those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love. I give the understanding by which to come to me, the Dhammi Buddhi Yogam Tam. Right, and then what's the other one? The devotees, they enlighten one another, discussing activities about me, enlightening one another, conversing about me. Such devotee worships me, worship me. I love it. It's very dear to me. Right. So they were talking about Jai Glory Jai Jai. Talking about hearing about the association of the Lord within the association of devotees. So yeah, I was talking about that. You associate with the Asat. Right, you have two different sanghas, the Sat Sangha and the Asat Sangha. So you'll develop the activities and qualities of the Asat Sangha if you associate with non-devotees. But if you associate with devotees, then you'll develop the qualifications of the Sat, right, of the eternal Tesham Satra Yuktanam, right, Ragatam Priti Purvakam. Right, Dhammi Buddhi Yogam Tam, right? One gets the intelligence. So one continues to move forward, and you continue to get more and more intelligence, how to engage in devotional service, how to hear and chant more or better, or what is it? Our practices, increasing our memorization. So we have our memorization classes every Friday morning, right? So also, Lord Kapila Dev is explaining Kata. Yeah, the stories. So yeah, these are just mere stories. Because because I was thinking about that when I was starting meditation and devotional. Well, devotional service was when I came to the Krishna Conscious Temple. I came for the Sunday feast and stayed. Then, it's like from a personal conception in Christianity, which we had basically it's a confused existence of God. Basically, they were thinking about a superior supreme being who's separate from ourselves, who's the creator of this Earth planet, which was really pretty much generally a one-time shot, which wasn't too long ago, maybe about a little more than 5,000 years ago. Because if you say 5,000 years ago, that's 2,000. Let's see, it's 3,000 BC, so it's 3,000 years before Christ. So Adam and Eve had to have been somewhere around just maybe just before that. Right, so that the universe is relatively really new. But it's actually really 1.5 trillion years. We've got another 1.5 trillion years to go to make a total of 3 trillion years for the whole duration of the lifetime of Brahma. And this is just one of the smaller universes, right? For starters. And so, yeah, they're thinking that by chance, some sort of natural selection. So they're talking about now how the atoms, they're saying, did you know that your body, all the atoms in your body originated from a star that blew up they were saying like 1.75 billion years ago, right? So some sort of natural selection which produced consciousness, which they can't explain, but they don't know what it is. And the scientists, Einstein, they've identified that there's 3 streams of consciousness at the basic chaotic state of pradhan. There's individual consciousness, collective consciousness, and a supreme consciousness. So that's probably what we kind of tapped into when we took our LSD and meditated or something. So became one, actually, felt like, one. So that was the whole idea, is like breaking away from this, from this personal conception of God and the heavenly planets, and who knows what I saw a thing, they had these referees, they kept calling all these shots with their arms, all these referees. And when the guy finally met God, he himself walks out to go meet himself. So everybody actually perceives God, the Supreme Being, as being like the image of themselves, because man is made in the image of God. So it's like completely, totally speculated, but that was the kind of conception of God that we actually have. Nobody knows what he looks like. Man, it's made in the image of God. You'll just find out when you die, when you go there. He died, he went to heaven. That was a nice thing to say. But in actuality, no one actually knows it, but engaged in nothing but sinful activities and are acquiring more and more negative karma, which is causing our further suffering in the material world. And they're saying, what kind of government can you actually really be? You're actually really completely, totally corrupt, and training and sending your subjects to hell and to become animals in their next life. So it's not a progressive society. No matter how much of the, so-called technological advancement, or so-called scientific achievements, or more knowledge that they think they're acquiring, but it's all ugra karma. It's all useless knowledge and information. Oh yeah, they're asking like so many questions. The birds are asking questions. They were talking about this in the Srimad Bhagavatam class too, and somebody mentioned it yesterday in the ISKCONKC. But there's so many questions and answers. So even the birds are asking questions. Where's the worm? Where's the nest? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. This is a hard struggle for existence. It's maintained by hard labor. So maybe if there's anything else, do you have a question or comment?
I was just wondering, like, the impersonal side of me was thinking, like, when you said that the impersonalists think that they themselves created everything, because in the Bible it says God created man in his own image. So like the impersonal side of me said like, wow, that actually kind of makes sense. So what is the argument against this argument?
Well, basically it was a gradual process. Right, Lord Shiva was instructed to become Sankaracharya and present the impersonal philosophy. Buddha, he denied the existence of God. They were talking about this. And I've even mentioned it too. I was at a Buddha temple, Wai Tai of Los Angeles, and they gave me their book, and it was a really cool book. It had a nice meditation session on there. Really turned around really good. It was really cool. Right, but when I mentioned that Buddha is God, they actually flatly deny it. They don't know he's a man. They just absolutely flatly deny that Buddha is an incarnation of Vishnu Tattva, or that he's God. What they believe is, is they're a person that can achieve this, the nirvana or the state of consciousness of Buddha, or Buddhahood, then they become a Buddha or a Bodhisattva. Stuff happens to them though. I guess there's some sort of a phenomena that occurs that if one leaves his body, the body becomes petrified, then they'll take such a Buddhist monk and cover him in gold, which has happened. You can look it up. In fact, it was September 21st, 1995. All the deities in India were drinking milk. And they were handing teaspoons of milk up to the deities' lips, and it was vanishing. Right, it was a phenomenon. It was reported all over India. They said even the Muslims were going to the Hindu temples to feed the deity spoonfuls of milk. And so then the scientists were trying to say it was actually due to some sort of anomaly in the friction or the gravity, that it was because if you take weight and mass and gravity. So apparently there was some sort of anomaly in the nature which was causing the milk to disappear in the deity's mouth, right? So Yeah, so the impersonal conception seemed to be like really, really, really superior to that. It's kind of like more of an elementary concept of God. You kind of knew that God was everywhere and God knows everything. He knows what you're thinking. He knows what everybody's doing and all that stuff, So the impersonal conception kind of, especially under the influence of LSD, and you actually feel homogeneously one, with this total, complete, creative intelligence, an unembodied being far beyond, anything you probably really possibly imagine. It must have been a really good trip. So, it just seemed to make a lot more sense. So here we're talking about now from an impersonal conception where they start talking about, okay, there's actually two. There's a soul and a supreme Brahman, a Brahman and a supreme Brahman. And then, there's actually a Vishnu, right? And, there's actually a Bhagavan where the Vishnu and the Brahman emanates from. So it was a gradual process from like Buddha, Sankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, who are Madhvacharya, right? So it was a gradual process, and Lord Chaitanya introduced Achinta Beta Beta Tattva, where simultaneously and inconceivably one within diversity. So if you're talking about if you take a small fragment of gold and put it in front of a mirror, right, it's gonna see its image of gold, right? But it's not equal to the entire gold mine or the entire whole block of gold, in which that fragmental part of gold is part of that system, as its chemical composition is gold. So our chemical composition is forever cognizant, knowledge, knowing, bliss, love, happiness, right? Be outside of time and space eternally. So it's that shit, Ananda, eternal knowledge, bliss, a conscious living entity, which Prabhupada says it's like a combination of medicine, an interaction of medicine within the bloodstream, within the body, is carried throughout the body. So the bloodstream carries the consciousness of the living entity throughout the entire body. So all the concepts are there from the impersonal Brahman, right? As which was seemed to be superior and above the a conception of God, and like in Christianity, God assumed the form of man, flesh, and died for your sins, right? So God can enter into the planets or into the universe to perform his pastimes, of his activities. Or was it John McCarma, Divyam, right? So Krishna doesn't change his bodies. So he remembers all of past, present, and he knows the future. And he's explaining to Arjuna that Arjuna was also there when Krishna instructed the sun god Vivishwan, but he was there in a different capacity. So the living entities, the Jiva Atmas, were changing our bodies, right? And we don't remember our past lives, and we don't have any knowledge of future lives. But Krishna doesn't change his body, so he retains and he knows and he understands this information. Not only that, but it's like millions of incarnations, unlimited incarnations that are independent of each other, where he is acting locally, completely like a small child, a baby, the perfect husband in Dwarka, right? Where he's performing different activities in each one of his 1,108 palaces, completely individual of each other. Although he's one, and the Paramatma within each and every heart, and the Brahman. So it was a gradual process from impersonal. Actually, was it? His name was Madhavinda Puri. He was here as an ISKCON scientist. He was stating that when one heard the Upanishads and the Vedas, which appear to describe the Supreme in an impersonal way, they automatically accepted, as a given, that they were actually talking about Bhagavan and not specifically in the ultimate sense an impersonal Brahman, right? But not materially embodied, but possessing a transcendental spiritual body, which is not limited by the specific functions of the senses, but can perform all of the functions of all the other senses with any of the other senses. Prabhupada was saying that there's no difference between Krishna's within and without, so what is this ridiculous nonsense? That this means surrender to the Brahman within Krishna, right? So does that kind of answer your question there? Yeah. You have a question?
I'm still a little confused. Is Buddha considered Vishnu Tattva or Jiva Tattva?
Well, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, Buddha is a Vishnu Tattva, right? And he gives his mission, which is explained, and which is kind of really cool. If Buddha did do this time around, we do have flying saucers and we do have UFOs hovering around Buddhist temples. Somehow or other, they're attracted to them. They have them on films. I saw one, the flying saucer was turning into a lotus flower, and it was turning into an apple, and it looked like it was waving and doing all sorts of stuff, some sort of strange, unexplained light in the air that was transforming, right, at a Buddhist temple. But it actually stated that Buddha bewildered the mind of Mayadanava, who was hiding in his spaceships in the clouds. And so they were saying that this was actually in another Kali Yuga, right? This Kali Yuga around this time, Buddha's mission was to stop the animal slaughter, which was being done in the name of the Vedas, and eating of flesh, and just deny the Vedas. And what he presented in his sutras was very much like the Vedas and the Upanishads. He just kind of gave it a Buddhist context. And then just denied the existence of a personal God and denied the existence of a soul. And that nirvana is just basically a void, or in the ultimate sense, nothing actually really exists, outside of, the bubble atom, molecular, three most material nature time factor, type of, actually what we state when the universe is dissolved, it's in a state of a subtle transformation, subtle manifestation of pradhan, right? So there's always some existence, but so that's why it's considered to be atheistic philosophy, and we actually don't accept Buddhism, or worship Lord Buddha, but he's actually Vishnu Tattva. But they deny that. They state that Buddha is just mainly a man, and the whole idea was they used to be vegetarians. So there's something like 30,000 different factions of Buddhism. There's Theravada Buddhism, different types of Buddhism, but most of the Buddhism, from what I understand, where it started out to be vegetarians, but now, they're offering eggs and meat, to their statue of Buddha in the Buddha temples. Yeah, you have another question?
Well, just on the same thought. So if I understand correctly, he's considered Saktivesh avatar. I'm looking at just a very tiny paragraph in this 4th canto purport where it says, he appears as a Saktivesh avatar like Lord Buddha. As explained before, these Saktivesh avatars are incarnation of Vishnu's power invested in a living entity. Living entities are also part and parcel of Lord Vishnu, but they are not as powerful Therefore, when a living entity descends as an incarnation of Vishnu, he is especially empowered by the Lord.
So who are they referring to as a Shakti-based avatar?
Well, this is in the context of talking about the verse that this is the purport to. O King Prithu, son of Vena, you are the part and parcel expansion of Lord Vishnu. Due to the mischievous activities of King Vena, religious principles were almost lost. At that opportune moment, you descended as the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Indeed, for the protection of religious principles, you have appeared from the body of King Vena.
Oh, okay, so King Prithu, yeah. So, yeah, King Prithu, he was a partial incarnation, right? You know, on the level of what it appears to be a Shakti-based avatar. But yeah, he was produced from the body of Lord Vena, King Vena. So King Vena, he was strong. His father was disgusted and left the kingdom because Vena was so mean and cruel. And there needed to be a ruler, a king, and they knew that Vena was strong. So the Brahmanas installed Vena on the throne. But the people were between a rock and a hard place, between a corrupt government and the rogues and the thieves. They thought that maybe he'd be good for curbing the violence between the rogues and the thieves. But he was a rogue and a thief himself in the form of a corrupt government. So the Brahmanas killed him because Vena actually proclaimed himself to be supreme, to be God. The king is actually, who would be a Raja Rishi, a saintly king, would follow religious principles and guide the civilization by the religious principles as representative of God. So they killed Vena by sounds, high-pitched words, sounds, mantras. So the Brahmanas, they killed Vena, but they churned his body, produced a Nishida, the Nishida race, and they told him he's just so much a rascal, just go live in the hills and the jungles and forests, right? And then the other part was King Prithu. Right. So there's actually, avatar means one who descends. So there's actually like in the Jiva tattva category, you know, a pure devotee who is specifically empowered. In the Vishnu tattva category, one who is actually directly Vishnu or Krishna, you know, like that. So is that explained in that chapter, Krishna as the source of all incarnations? It explains the Shakti Vesh. I know Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita explains it in quite some detail. Right. Oh, okay. Yes. Does that answer your questions, though? Yeah. All right. Any other questions or comments? We can end class there. Okay. Shrimad Bhagavatam class ki jai.